Hey there, future me. It's currently Wednesday evening, or I guess well, technically Thursday night, and I am recording this audio despite not having uploaded the, I guess, previously recorded audio of about a week ago. I guess I'm being a bit of a bum at the moment, but I, well, nothing to do but I guess catch up, I figure. I went to go see the Eclipse last week, so that was like pretty cool. Or well, not last week, but uh, 3 days ago. Yeah, we went to like some friend's place who like their parents like have a house that just so happened to be in the path of totality. So we kind of like camped out there and saw it and then drove back. It was pretty interesting, and it's also kind of weird to think that like if we like had missed this one, or maybe if there were like clouds or something, I'd have to wait like 20 years pretty much until the next one. Unless like I went overseas, which sounds like a lot of effort just to go see the sun get blocked out by the moon. But it's I guess I'm gonna try to pivot now, right? It's really weird to think that like 20 years from now, if I'm still around and kicking, I'll basically be like twice my age. But I bet like future me 20 years from now, hopefully watching the eclipse, whether it being in my backyard or whether I drove out to it, probably won't really feel too. Probably won't feel like. Well, how do I say this? Nothing drastic happened, right? I know that it's been like 6 years out from high school, even though high school feels like it was like yesterday, pretty much. But I don't think I've changed. Like, I do think I've changed a lot, but I think whenever a change happens, I'm not really aware of it. In physics, there's this term called adiabatic evolution, which is a bit of nerd emoji. But it's like it's used to describe a system that evolves over time without like necessarily like getting excited. I guess it's kind of like you just put gas in a box and just kind of let it naturally spread out and cool, right? Not nothing crazy needs to occur. You don't need to push it. You don't need to agitate it. It just kind of happens. Just it gradually occurs over time. But even though like you have these like natural emotions, the thing that you start off with could be really different from like the thing that you end up with. And I feel like a lot of like I guess the differences that me now and like or me now versus high school me would have would probably be these like adiabatic changes. Sure, there are like some life defining events such as well graduating from high school, getting into college, graduating from college, getting into grad school, and like a bunch of other like experiences that you'll see that will like probably really define you're not define but just kind of like I'll remember this, right, and I'll carry this on into the future kind of stuff. But I bet there's also a lot of stuff that I just didn't really, I guess, think too much of at the moment whenever I started doing it or whenever I started stopped doing it, and it's just kind of kept going, and then now I'm here, right? I think a good example of this are like chess puzzles. I think back in sophomore year of college, I was hanging out in office hours with a friend. We were killing time and waiting, in line to go bother the professor about like something about some like CS thing, right? And so he challenged me to a game of chess, and I was like, all right, cool. And I got my ass kicked. It was pretty bad. And so I was like, all right, well, I kind of don't want to get whooped next time, so I'm gonna start doing chess. I'll start doing chess puzzles every day. And so like I remember during that time, I like first thing I'd do after waking up is like I'd wake up, turn my alarm off, then grab my phone, start doing like some puzzles, right? And I like kept doing this for a bit. Eventually, I played him again, and yeah, narrowly beat him, but we take those. And even after that, I just kind of kept doing chess puzzles, and I kept doing this for quite some time. COVID happened, I got sent home. Okay, now at this point, I just still do them at home, and then COVID kind of lessens up. It's not as bad anymore. Come back to campus. Okay, well, I'm still doing chess tactics. I graduate, get into grad school, set up shop, move in and all that. Well, I'm still doing chess tactics. And then one day, I guess like I was rather busy with stuff, and so I just kind of didn't do chess tactics. And then like the next day, I just didn't really do it either because I didn't really feel like doing them. And like it happens a few more days, and now I just don't really do them anymore, right? Um, and it's kind of weird because I guess I didn't really make I didn't like actively say like, oh man, chess tactics are so cringe and not fun. I'm totally like not gonna do these anymore because they're like dumb and stupid and I hate them. It was just more like I don't really feel like doing this right now, and so I just kind of stopped, right? Um, but I I think like it's probably happened to like a lot of other stuff too, right? Maybe there was like a game that like I really liked playing, and I would like log on like constantly to get like like the daily reward bonus or something, and then some like one day you miss it, and then or you just like you get caught up with something else and you forget about it, and then you forget about it again. And eventually, like it goes from like being this thing that you would do like frequently. It's just kind of like it's now just like in the it's gone, right? Um, but at the same time, this activity, right, could be really not necessarily really defining, but like it could be something notable, right? I think like if it weren't for I guess like doing chess tactics, I wouldn't be like well, I'm not good at chess, but I'm now slightly less worse at chess, right? So if it weren't for doing chess tactics over the span of like 4 years, I wouldn't have, I guess, gotten slightly better at chess. And it's also like kind of strange to go on like my profile and kind of see like my progress over time, right? You don't really I guess feel like you're taking major steps, but over time you can gradually see a line go up, and it's like nice, cool. Sometimes some days the line goes down, some days the line goes up, but over time it goes more and more up than down. I'm not really sure what I was trying to imply by describing this. It's like, oh, if you go do something every day, it'll gradually build up and it'll become something. It's not necessarily a good thing, but it's also not necessarily a bad thing. It's just, I guess, something that just kind of it's a consequence of, I guess, doing something like over and over and over again. It'll stick, and I guess it'll change me somehow. But it still doesn't really feel like I've changed too much, or like well no I don't mean to say that, right? Like I know I've changed a lot. I've like learned a lot of cool things. I've met a lot of like new people, made a lot of friends, and seen different parts of the world. But it's I somehow feel like I'm still like that kid back in high school or even back in middle school, right? But at the same time, I'm already rather far removed. I can't. I mean, hell, I'm like trying to describe myself as a kid right now. Sometimes, like it's like, oh, I'm just a kid, or whenever I grow up, I want to do this. But I can't say this anymore, right? I'm like in my early 20s now. I'm already an adult. I'm quite far, or not quite far, but I'm decently far removed from childhood, and in a few more years, right, I'll be even more further removed from childhood, but maybe I'll still think of myself as like a kid or an adult. Like, I I guess like, uh, let me focus my focus myself. Yeah, okay. Uh, it's just like, when do I actually grow up, right? Like, at what point in time do I actually grow up? And maybe that's one of those things that, like chess tactics or like the other things, it just kind of happens. Like, adiabatically somehow, right? At some point in time, I choose to conduct myself more like an adult. I'm not really sure what that means, like compared to being a kid. Some things I guess I have to do out of necessity, right? As a child, my parents used to cook food for me. Nowadays, my parents are both quite far away, and I don't really think they could be bothered to cook food for me, as they don't, it's just not really practical. And now it's like something that I have to learn to do. But other things, which is just like maybe my mannerisms or how I choose to conduct myself and how I interact with like different groups, is just something that I'll have to get used to. Whenever we were like at my friend's place watching the eclipse, I was talking to like his youngest brother, who's like in like eighth grade, right? And it was really weird to think that like he's like in the eighth grade, but he's like I don't know, like about what how wow, 10 years. Wow, holy cow. Yeah, he was talking about like how he's like, oh, I was like born in like 2009. I don't even remember like a lot of these things that were part of my childhood. It's weird to think that like someone in eighth grade, is that far removed from me, right? and I don't know how I'm supposed to react to this. I guess there's no like right reaction or wrong reaction for that matter. If anything, reacting is not a necessity. It's just something that I happen to do because it's like, whoa, that's like weird. But how am I supposed to conduct myself now, right? Am I supposed to suddenly say like, oh well, now I'm an adult and I have to act all serious like, and I have to be all formal? No, that'd be weird, right? I feel like I'd be forcing some kind of reputation. Like I'd try to it would be bad to like force a change, right? At best, it just kind of like happens adiabatically, but like what things will happen, I guess, that will lead me to become more formal. I hope that I become more formal in the future. I think it would be rather poor to have, like, if I go into education, and if I'm lucky enough, right, it would be kind of strange to have some, like, lecture guy who just kind of always stutters and can't really talk straight or talk in a proper manner, right, or present ideas gracefully and instead, like, lops around. That's probably something that will come with practice, but maybe beyond like just how I design or like how I like give lectures and stuff, just how I conduct myself in general, right? It's like, whenever I talk with like my prof, who's like, I think he probably started working at the university like just before I was born, which is kind of wild. Like he conducts himself with some manner that's like still rather casual but mature. Maybe it's just because he's from like an older time, and so older times seem different, and maybe they seem mature as a result. And maybe he actually hasn't really changed too much from like his undergraduate years. But I'd like to believe otherwise, right? He's has a wife and kids. Few of them haven't met him, but I think they're out there. um, and like that probably like shapes him and changes him as a person, right? And I just wonder like how that's going to happen, and I hope that I guess I make it out all right, because as of now, like I'm just trying to be consistent with what I was in high school to some effect, but also to try to be better, but not to force myself to like become someone who I'm not. But I know that like what I am right now is rather flawed compared to what I want to be in the future. I know that my future self will surely be flawed, but hopefully less flawed than current me is now. But how will I get there? Is it something that I will truly deliberately try for? Or like will it be defined by certain events, or will it just happen gradually? Realistically, it's probably a combination of like, things that I deliberately choose, things that just kind of happen that are like somehow life-changing, and things that I don't really pay too much attention to but end up being rather transformative. But it's just, I don't know, it's just an interesting thing to think about. Time, how things change, and to some effect, like how far removed I am now from childhood. I don't really know how to react to this, and also I guess if I want to go into education, then I'll be interacting with like the youth, the kiddos, right? Like I mean, I'm currently, I guess, being a TA and all that, I have like office hours and I interact with like undergrads, and it's weird to like because I feel like I can kind of get along with these guys, but they're also like 4 years younger than me, and then it kind of hits, and it's like, wait, you guys are like 4 years younger than me, what? um, but yeah, I don't know. Truth be told, this is actually like the second time I was trying to record this like today's like little ramble, but yeah, the first time I tried recording it, it ended up being rather. I think I got a little bit too existential, and I went off the. I went a little bit off track compared to what I wanted to talk about, like today, just about like time and like, um, what time, uh, gradual change over time. Let's think through it slowly. Uh, what? Oh yeah, just thinking of myself as a kid, despite not being a kid anymore, and just how to, I guess, cope with the idea that I'm growing up, and I guess the uncertainty, and yeah, just the uncertainty about the future, and hoping that I turn out all right, while also like wondering as to what this exactly means, right? Because I guess if I, when I was a kid, people probably, I could probably do a lot of stupid stuff, like not deliberately, right? And people like, oh, you're okay, yeah, that's fine because you're just a kid. But once you're an adult, I think there's like a lot less leeway. People are a lot less forgiving of you doing stupid stuff. If you unintentionally post cringe, they're just gonna be like, bro, what is this? Green posted cringe, asked to leave job immediately. um, but yeah, I don't know. I guess that's all I really got for now. So I hope it wasn't too bad.